Hey everybody, Steven here, playing Red Dead Online, and this video is going to be a guide to the Naturalist role. So this is a brand new role for Red Dead Online here, and with this, to start out, you're going to need to go to Strawberry, and here you're going to have an interaction with Gus McMillan and Harriet. So this role is unique because it's split in two separate areas with these two characters. You have McMillan, who essentially acts as a butcher in a sense, but you can also garner legendary pelts or perfect pelts to sell them to get new clothing items from him as well. Harriet, on the other hand, is really the bulk of this role. She's going to give you the sample kit, she's going to give you the legendary animal guide, and this actually costs 25 gold bars to get this, which is 10 more than we see with the other roles. So once you actually do that, she's actually going to spray you in the face with one of her, I don't know, pheromone sprays, whatever it is, and afterwards you'll wake up in the forest and you should now have these things on you. Apparently there is a glitch where people aren't getting these things. I don't have a fix at the moment. Hopefully down the road I'll know more. I would just say reach out to Rockstar at the moment. Hopefully they can fix things on their end for you. So once we're in the forest, like I said, you get these things, you start rank 1. The other thing that you get is the animal field guide, and with this is where you actually get to see how many animals you've taken samples from, and that's going to be a huge thing that I talk about in a little bit. So now we start the process of finding these animals, shooting them with a tranquilizer, and then taking that sample from them. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a handful of different locations around the map where you're going to find Harriet and you're going to find Gus. Now, the easiest one for Harriet to get to her is going to be in LeGras. So if you're like, hey, I need to get this really quick, I don't want to mess with traveling a super long distance, if you can fast travel and get to LeGras, she's right there. So that is the easiest spot to actually find her. So once you start out and you're just kind of wandering around, just start taking samples of any animal, you then give those or sell those to Harriet, and that's how you'll actually gain small amounts of XP. You're talking like 57-ish. I think it's 50, but if you have the Outlaw Pass, you'll get a bonus with that. That brings it up to 57. But you need to go to Harriet first so you can actually get the sedative varmint ammo. So with this is actually how you'll knock out the creatures. I don't know if there's a certain amount that it takes per animal. I know it's more than one. If you just shoot an animal once and just wait, it typically doesn't actually pass out. You have to kind of, I just unload on it. I've noticed 5 to 8, maybe even 10, depending upon the animal. I'm sure there are people out there that know the exact amount. But for right now, I just kind of unload on the animal, and then eventually it'll pass out. You can track the animal with this. Within the animal field guide, I mean, it wants you to do more than just get the sample. It wants you to skin the animal. It wants you to kill the animal, obviously, with that. Take a photograph as well. And you can actually purchase from the catalog the newest camera. It's not cheap, but when you purchase it, it makes it easier to actually move around and take photos compared to your regular camera with this. Now, one of the first things you're going to want to be mindful of is, yes, the field guide is saying you need to kill and skin these animals, but you don't need to do that in order to gain XP, at least as far as I know, for this role, because one of the things that you're going to want to do is gain all of the samples for the animals in a category and then sell that as one large chunk to Harriet for much larger XP. And I'll cover that again here in a little bit. But if you go around killing a bunch of animals, you're going to see a warning saying, hey, Harriet's going to get mad at you. You kill enough and you come back, she's going to spray you with that pheromone stuff again, and it's going to knock you out. And you're going to have to wait, typically, from what I've seen, about 3 to 5 minutes before you can go back to her and actually talk to her again. Something else to keep in mind is birds don't count, so don't waste your time with them. The varmint rifle will actually kill them. It'll also kill small rodents as well, so with those, you're really just looking at taking pictures. You're not going to take samples, so kind of a waste of your time when you're initially starting out the role with all of this. Also, when you're going to photograph animals, because usually if I'm hunting them or trying to sedate them, I'm going to try to get as much out of that as I can. So if I can take the photo of it first and then sedate it, that's awesome. But if you kill it and then try to take the photo or you sedate it, it doesn't count. You also can't take a sample from an animal twice. So if you sedate the animal, you let it wake up and then try to sedate it again and take another sample, it doesn't work. It has to be a different animal. So it's just a waste of your time to kind of hang around at that point. I've also noticed there is no upside to reviving an animal. So maybe down the way there is, but for right now in the early stages of the roll, don't mess with spending $5 to get an animal reviver unless you're going to use it on your horse. Now this is a slower ranking process than the other roles, with it being low XP for turning in these samples. So Rockstar, for whatever reason, is just really throwing huge chunks of XP at people. I don't know if that has to do with the Twitch Prime stuff or if it has to do with if you've signed up for the Outlaw Pass, but I've gotten multiple. I ranked up really quick just because they would give me a ticket for 2000 XP. Well, that's one rank, and I ended up getting a couple of those. So if that's still going on, something to look for. If it's not happening for you with this, it is going to be a slower process, because the main thing that you're trying to get to early on is rank 5. Because at rank 5, that's when you're going to open up missions. You don't have access to those initially. Once you hit that, you get these new missions, which the missions will change depending upon where you are on the map from what I've seen. And compared to the regular samples, you actually get a decent amount of XP from doing this. So that will help with just increasing your ranks. But more importantly, you actually get to then still sell that sample to Harriet for a larger chunk of money. Regular samples can be a couple dollars. Now, the harder the animal is to find, sedate, and all of that, like a bear, for instance, you're going to get a little bit more money, but you're still just talking about a couple bucks. Jaguars, things like that are going to get you a little bit more, but it's not a huge chunk of cash compared to when you actually turn in a legendary sample. After about rank 5-2, you'll start to notice random events happen around the map where you have poachers that you can actually take out, and you can earn a decent chunk of XP with that. It's not a huge amount, just like with the other roles when you have a random event that happens, but it is a little bit better than the amount that you get from selling samples. So if you pull up your satchel, that's where you'll find the legendary animal map. It does get updated as you kind of progress through the ranks with this. Now you can go ahead and try to track down a legendary animal. It will most likely feel very frustrating unless you're going to watch other videos, and there are a lot out there. There are a ton of amazing content creators for Red Dead Online here. But if you're not going to go down that route, it can feel frustrating. You can use the pheromones that you buy from Harriet, and then you can actually use essentially mask your scent with this, and you can buy that as well. But it's just harder to actually track these down. They're legendary animals, so it may seem like more of a time sink for you with that. So I usually say wait until you're a little bit further on in the rank before you actually attempt this. And this brings us to our very last kind of tip with this, which is going to be collect all of the samples within one of the categories. Now, as you sell these to Harriet, when you go into the field guide, you'll see a stamp by the animal's name. Once you have a stamp by all of them within that particular category, you can actually trade it in, which you see at the bottom. So right here, you'll see these all have a stamp. That doesn't mean I've completed the field guide for all of these. It just means that I've actually sold her the sample. Right there, it says trade in. When you click trade in, you'll get 1150 XP for the roll, which is huge for this one. And then depending on which one it is, like I got $140 here. Each category is going to have its own monetary value. I don't know if that affects XP or not, but as you go up that, you'll see it goes from a low end all the way up to a very, very high amount of money. So hopefully these things help you along the way when you're initially starting out this role. I'm going to hopefully do a couple more videos as I progress through this and I find more things that I think would be useful for other people to watch. Keep in mind, like I said, this is really the intro, the beginner's guide to this. There are more advanced things that I want to cover with those other videos down the way. If there's anything that you want to see in particular too, let me know in the comment section. Or if you guys have things to add too, maybe there's stuff that I didn't cover. I love seeing the comments that add value to this because I know other people look through those and they find some really cool stuff with this, and it's something that I could potentially use in future videos as well. So that's going to be it for this video. If you guys like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, hit the subscribe button for me. Thanks so much for watching.